Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today we are taking on the 6 Warrior Quest Area 8. This dropped with Kader and Edgar. And I thought this was a pretty fun fight. There's definitely like some mechanics here, right? And it's very typical, like the 6 Warrior Quests typically have a lot of mechanics because they know you have access to 6 characters. So they know that they want you to really dip into that toolbox and use up some of these skills that these characters have. Now, obviously, they're going to most heavily push Kader and Edgar. They are the featured characters here. I feel like the Centipede on the right is really there for Kader, to push Kader's mechanics, and then the Moth is there a little bit more for Edgar's mechanics. So right here, I have Astos on the team. I think Astos is an interesting unit you can always bring to a 6-man, and I decided to just bring him in and put his BT effect up right away. Now, you might be thinking it's a little early to put that up. Why would you do that? It's literally just for setup. So with 6-man, you have such freedom to like swap characters in and out. I figured I want Astos to be kind of like my pinch hitter off the bench, where if I'm just at a really high percent in a burst phase, I can just bring him in and blow up a big number, right? So I want to have his BT just like up and ready to go, so that when I do get to a high percent, I can just bring him in and swing, right? I didn't want to get in a situation where like Astos is on the bench but not his BT effect up, because if I'm in the middle of the force time, I don't want to waste the force turn to put the BT on. And with 6-man, you can put up your buffs as early as you want, provided you just leave them on the bench then until you want to bring them in. So that's kind of what I do there. And then so my general idea is my main setup here is I'm doing Aerith and Rosa just because I love the ramp combo just to get the gauge up really quick, and I can kind of just float between the characters. Now, in terms of how Kader and Edgar come into play here, Kader is someone you're going to notice I try to keep Kader on the field as much as possible. And you'll notice there for a brief moment on my first turn, or like a few turns ago, I actually brought in Edgar off the bench, not for Edgar, but he was carrying a call that I wanted, which was a Mid-Italian. Because you see the Centipede has a red aura, and he was going to get a turn before Kader. So the way that the Centipede works with Kader, and why Kader is good to have here, is the Centipede gets a red aura, and the only way to cancel is to have the Centipede basically attack you. But he's going to do very powerful like HP attacks. So being able to have Kader's BT effect up with the dodge will really help deal with the Centipede. And so since Kader didn't get a turn until after the Centipede, I wanted to use a Mid-Italian just to delete once really quick, and then get to a Kader turn. Now, I didn't really feel like I wanted to use my BT phase to like do a bunch of damage, because like if you try to do that with Astos on a fight like this, you can see there's all kinds of thresholds. They're going to do things to like mess up your damage and whatnot in between. So I figured this is a good fight that I'm just going to open with Kader's entire burst phase, and I'm not really doing it for damage. I'm just doing it to get her BT effect up, and then I'll have another whole round of her BT effects. I figured her BT effect is going to be my priority here, because between her BT effect and then her freeze, like the enemies won't really be able to touch me, and I know it's a very aggressive fight. So Kader's pretty much just my safety net to make sure I'm safe. We're going to be getting nice counter damage, right? But I figured Rosa is going to be my main FR that I want to use. Just, and once again, the thing I love about Rosa is her FR is so free and easy that she's just a really good go-to, where, and especially in 6-man where you have so many different characters that are doing different things, an FR like Rosa just means I can swap characters in and out as I please, and her FR is always going to give good gain. So I figured she's just so good for that, and that's why I like her so much. As you can see, my Aerith finally has the new costume. I did pick up the 2-token costume pack, and I decided to buy Aerith, and I really wasn't sure who I was going to get on the other one. And I decided to grab Yuffie just because I really like Yuffie, and her costume is actually really good. I think the reason why I skipped on her costume the first time was because I think Final Fantasy VII Remake was a little bit more recent, and she had that really cool Mugo outfit there in the DLC. And I was really hoping that DFFOO would come out with her Mugo outfit, and I still think they will at some point. But I kind of refrained from buying her costume because I'm like, no, I'm going to wait till they do the Mugo costume. But who knows when that'll happen. So I figured, sure, Yuffie was a character on there I liked. She's red crystal, which is a very invested crystal room for me. So I figured, let's go ahead and grab Yuffie. That's the one that was kind of standing out to me there that I didn't have. So that's what I went and grabbed. And then you can see Kader's got her costume. I just flat out bought that because that wasn't on the token pack. So there you go. You see the Centipede attacked Kader. Kader dodged it. It calmed down. Now we're getting the big counters from Kader. And then Mr. Moth there. Big counters there. So yeah, we're just going to kind of go through now, and we're in our first burst phase. So now And with 6-man too, you have so many characters to echo with. And I've talked about this before on other 6-man fights. You have to make sure you don't like go too crazy with all of your echo, unless you're sure that you're gonna like really end the fight quickly, right? Now with retain, I guess it's not as big of a deal, because if you do burn out all your echo and stuff, I mean, you're still gonna retain and you'll still do enough damage to finish the fight. But this is a fight in particular, you have to make sure you cancel their force, because it's only a 10-turn force, but they basically full heal any damage you deal. So you can't make any progress in the fight while they're in a force time. And because it's only 10 turns, you might think, well, you can just wait them out, let them get their turns, and you can do that. But the problem is the turn count is a little restrictive, and you're probably not going to meet turn count if you have to wait out their force time. So the big thing here is as I go through and I'm echoing or whatever, I have to make sure I save at least one cater force, just in case the fight goes a little bit longer and, you know, I don't quite kill them in this first force time. I need to make sure I have cater to cancel, because I believe the force they want is like ice damage on a force, which there are multiple characters that can get that. Cater could enchant a character and then give them ice and they could cancel it. But just for the sake of simplicity, I'm like, let's just cancel it with cater. So I think I do one echo with cater, but I do save her other force just in case I need to go into another one. And then here goes Rosa with her echo here. But yeah, when you have 6 potential echo characters, that's a lot of echoing you can do. I'm pretty sure also I ran in here with a full force 50 team. I'm probably going to regret it, but I did force 50 Edgar just because I already full invested him. So I'm like, well, I already regretted full investing him, so I might as well keep that regret going, right? And just give him the force 50. I can say to myself, like, hey, he's Final Fantasy 6. So here's the blue aura, so you guys can see that. So you'll see we'll start dealing like really low brave damage, and they've got a big shield. So Edgar is kind of what they want you to use to break that. And then once you get that shield kind of broken down, then you'll be a lot better. All right, so we got fat dodge there. We'll take that. We'll counter through. But like Edgar here, like in a 6-man fight, I don't think it's that restrictive, because I think there are other characters that can help get around it. You might be able to deal with it with calls. But like even having, say, like an LD only Edgar, like that might be enough to get you by. And once again, you just bring him in off the bench, do his defense ignore, whatever you need to do, put the weapon weakness on, whatever, and Edgar can do his thing, and it's not going to be like a huge detriment to the team. As you can see there, Astos was hitting 1s on the brave damage, so that was a mistake on my part, because because I was trying to do that to gain his his darkness overhead buff, right? And hitting only 1s isn't really going to help with that, but it looks like he is maxed out on it anyway, so I decide to, we'll get away from Astos on the next turn, but I'm like, I kind of wanted to get some damage in, and we do have the gauge pretty high. So actually, no, on Astos' next turn, I do think I keep him out for some straight damage. But yeah, you can see we're hitting 1s now. So we got to get Edgar out there with the defense ignore. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble. We got to get rid of that blue aura. So I think we might drop, I think we drop for Edgar here. And I think Edgar's FR does a pretty good job of dealing with it. I did decide to LD, but I think realistically I should have just used the FR there. The LD does enable like more weakness damage, but yeah, I think the FR here will take care of it. So we're going to hit the FR, and it's going to give us an echo. So we've only got 2 turns left, but we are going to be, my goal was to get at a very high gauge so that Astos could at least pop off like a dark thrust and do a bunch of damage. Now, I didn't like optimally set things up here. I just kind of took characters in my head. I'm like, I think these guys will work. I didn't set up launching or anything like that. And I do have Fujin, right? And I do get Fujin out, I think, a little bit later. But I probably could have did a little bit more to set up with her. The thing with Fujin, it's not like you can just like bring her in and have her leave and have everybody launchable. Because hers is like, every time she attacks, she'll launch and make the enemies launchable for like 1 attack. But her BT is the big thing that makes the launching consistent, but she'd have to like stay on the field for that. So until I got to a point where I felt like, I had room to put Fujin in, I didn't really like mess around with her too much. I do bring her in, I do believe, for an echo, because here is one where I don't think I have to really echo much more at this point, because the gauge is basically there. But I do want to get the gauge going, and I do want to get to 999 before we get to retain. So at this point, so this is a part where like I really didn't want to move cater, but I kind of had to. Or no, I do have an echo to use, so I think I echoed here. Because as long as I could echo and still have 1 left. But there is a point in the fight where I do pull cater out briefly, And I like almost instantly regretted it because then the enemy started like hitting me for HP damage almost immediately. You know, Kader can kind of be a mask for how hard a fight actually is, because when she's out with her BT effect, you are kind of just like invincible. And you don't, you know, you see all these big attacks coming through. We don't really see the damage of it because we're just dodging everything, right? And they're trying to put a heavy poison on me, and we're just like not seeing any of it. So I think this fight without Kader is going to look very different, a lot more difficult. But once again, I think you can get by it without her. You're just going to need other tanks to kind of help with it, and then have an FR that deals ice damage. Maybe Celis would be pretty good here, even though she's a little bit older at this point. But I think Celis is looking pretty good on JP, because I think she just dropped with Selfie. Now, she may have already had like Echo and stuff, so that might be like a rerun, but I think she's pretty solid on JP right now. Selfie looking pretty spicy, though. Selfie will definitely be like a must-pull for me when she comes back. She's so crazy. She's so crazy. So here goes Edgar. Now we're finally getting the FR once again here. And we're going to get that blue aura out of here. We need that blue aura out of here. So yeah, now we got the triple weakness damage. And then they're going to... See, and you see the moment we took Kader out, we start taking HP damage. So it's like, whatever. Whatever. And then Astos is going to do a swing here. Yeah, we'll just do Dark Thrust, do some big damage. Yeah, so 43 mil, and that's like without launching or follow-up or anything. That's pretty good. And we weren't like designing the team to, you know, because typically if you really want Astos to get like those 100 million shots or whatever, you're doing a lot to like get his max brave higher and things like that. So Edgar actually did die, but we had Rose's re-raise. So sure, we'll take the little safety net there. So we kind of had a little bit of a handicap. So I will say this fight was a little sloppy at times, but it ended up being fine, right? Not a perfect run, and it shows you don't have to be perfect. But between Aerith and Rosa, I had two kind of safety net options that, like, if I did accidentally die. But you can see that I think it's really good here to show how good Kader is. We literally take her out of the party for like 2 seconds and the character gets killed. And luckily we had Rosa's re-raise on to save the run. Because when that happened, I thought the run was gone. I'm like, oh wait, I got Rosa's re-raise on. And it's nice to show that like re-raise can save a run, right? Because, you know, we have them pretty low here. We did a lot, and it would have been kind of a shame to lose the fight at that point. So it was nice that we had that. Now, the other thing I haven't talked about yet, and I think it's happened, it's definitely happened already. I was just talking over it. But there was a threshold where I believe it's the Moth that does it. He like cancels all of their debuffs and cancels all of your buffs. And that's where it's really important to have Kader BT effect, because it won't cancel BTs. So if you're, say, relying on Kader's triple slip just to dodge and her normal buffs without her BT effect, she would become very vulnerable at that point. So you notice in this fight, I pretty much keep Kader BT effect up the whole time, other than that brief moment she was on the bench and the character freaking got killed. But now she's in there and you see her burst is only at 1 turn. But this is why I did her burst phase at the beginning, because now I still have her burst attack and we're going to refresh her burst effect. So it was just a really nice safety net. Now you could use a character like Iris or Rem, because their BT effects also make you feel pretty much invincible. So you got options, right? There's a lot of good ways you can get around it. I would say if you had like Iris, Rem, or Kader, just one of these BT effects that you pretty much feel unkillable, you just have one of them always on the field at any time and you're probably good to go. Alright, so yeah, now it was important to get Kader back in, and now we're hitting the force. You see they're just healing all the damage back. So now we got the force time canceled, and now we can make progress again on the health. And you can see we're at 505% or whatever, which was very good on the retain. So we had really good damage. Once again, when they hit their force, we started doing like nothing. So now that they're out of force, I think we're pretty much ready to take it to the house here. And now I'm like, now it's time to get Fujin in, because Fujin hasn't really done anything. And you can see she's got both of her echoes and everything. So I'm thinking, let's get her BT effect up and let's get some launching going at this point. For sure. And by the way, I know we've got Kadaj coming next. And I did a should you poll on him. And I was looking at his kit. I did realize I overlooked a couple of things that are really good about Kadaj. So like his trap does do a lot of hits. When I was looking over the notes, I didn't notice it that his BT actually makes his trap or his follow-ups trigger twice on his own turn. So, you know, for single target, he is going to be probably the strongest single target damage dealer in the game. Like, he's going to be better than Tifa for sure. because his follow-ups alone, he's going to get 12 dumps just on the follow-ups, plus whatever he's normally doing. So, like, if he does, say, an attack, and I think in his kit, his LD, one of his attacks does, like, 9 dumps. So you're going to get 9 dumps plus 12. You're going to get, like, 21 dumps on the turn. So he is an incredibly powerful, like, single-target damage dealer. I think my should you pull, I still stand on, I don't think he's a must-pull. I know, like, Simply Lost and other people have really talked him up that he's, like, a must-pull. I think he's insanely good, but I think still just as a damage dealer, I don't think you have to have him, but I get why people want him and are very hyped for him. And we'll see. You know, I have enough gems that maybe I'll change my mind and go for the BT, because he does seem like he's going to do a crap ton of damage. And his debuffs are powerful. Like, you don't want to underestimate how strong the debuffs are. And if you like running debuff comps, I mean, you can just, in a sense, make yourself safe in that, like, you get the enemies so crumpled that they just can't even deal, like, brave damage to you, and they're, like, hitting one. So, yeah, I definitely get the appeal of Kadaj, for sure. And I think had Astos not been, like, right here for, like, newer players, like, Kadaj would be the damage dealer to get, for sure. And I think for veterans that just want another damage dealer, I think Kadaj is going to be a really good pickup for that, especially single target, because he is going to outclass Tifa, for sure. So, definitely, if you want to go for Kadaj, definitely do it. But, once again, I don't think you're going to, like, not be able to, like, beat the game without him, right? I think content will still be plenty clearable without him. And I think it also, part of it, it depends on your play style. And as you guys have seen, I do really prefer, like, these off-turn comps a little bit more. So that's probably, like, why for me personally, I also was maybe a little less hype about him, is because, you know, he's a little bit, I don't know, out of my play style. In terms of, like, the off-turn stuff that I like to do. Now, I definitely do like doing offensive stuff as well, but it's like, yeah, I've already got, like, the Aranea Fujin combo. I've already got Astos. I think, to me, I don't know that I need the Kadaj, and I've never been someone to do, like, the big, what do you call it, debuff strats. But I think the people that love doing debuff strats, he's, like, a must-get for people like doing that. Because you pair him up with someone like, say, Laguna or Vincent, and you really get some heavy debuffs rolling, like, the enemies won't be able to touch you. The one advantage I would say that Kadaj has, and I know I'm kind of turning into a Kadaj discussion here as we are finishing up the fight, I think the one advantage Kadaj has over some characters, like, let's say we compare Kadaj and Cater, like, together, right? Now, me personally, I definitely like Cater more, but one of the appeals you can say to Kadaj is what he does, like, his kit, like, really can't be negated, because as far as I know, I don't think bosses have any way to negate or deal with gold debuffs. And his main thing revolves around the gold debuff. And so with Kadaj, his main mechanic, I think, can never get locked out of a fight, right? Whereas, like, Cater, as amazing as she is, there could be a boss that just says you can't dodge at all, and then Cater's kind of unrunnable in that situation. You could try to rely on the freeze, but, like, what good is Cater if she can't counter, right? Like, that's the goal of that. So I definitely can see some advantages to Kadaj over, say, other characters. So definitely, if you like Kadaj, definitely grab him. I think he's going to be really good. I am a little tempted to maybe go a little bit deeper on him just because my materials are good right now, so we'll see. So anyways, guys, there you go. That's my 6 Warrior Quest Area 8 run. Let me know kind of what you ran for that, if you enjoyed some of these characters. I think mine was a full Force 50 team, so I was running, like, all boosted, right? But you can definitely get by with some other characters, so let me know how it went for you. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you all on the next one.